Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a track from an actor named Paul Margid titled Everything's Gonna Be Alright. And if we switch over to here, I wasn't sure how to pronounce Margid. I live in New Zealand. I thought it was Maged initially, or Margid, but then I did a YouTube search and it's Margid. So Paul Margid. Anyways, Paul Margid has released a track titled Everything's Gonna Be Alright, with all the other tracks here released as well since 2016. So got quite a prolific musician and songwriter here. So we're gonna listen through this track from start to finish, and we're gonna hear what we think. Let's go. Okay, I like these guitars with the claps. Oh, and the drums. We've just got so much instantly. There's no filler, there's no intro core, vocals coming in with the drums, and the backing ones nice and cheery and peppy. I love his range here. It sits so nicely on top of the guitar, drums, and everything else. You know, there's this effortless vibrato that's coming through as well. We've got solid vocal technique on display here. Interesting legato passages here. I like the octave chords, so we get a little bit of distortion, a bit of grittiness in that hook section. Interesting drum fills as well. Everything's gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright now. I was expecting a little bit more of a hit on the way into the hook. It's a very smooth transition between these different sections. I'm not sure if that's down to a reduced dynamic range in the mastering chain or something else. Okay, there's a lot to take in now. I love the vocal fry that we're getting in some parts of this interlude section. It's nice and succinct. There's no filler in here. We're not really allowing the music to sit without any vocals at any point, but that's okay. The guy's got an interesting voice. It's nice to just have the piano come in without anything else in the vocals, you know. Don't know if there's a middle eight or something like that. It's very busy. It's really well produced. Like, I love the sound of these vocal recordings and how they've been mixed in with these guitars, bass, the drums, the pianos, and everything like that. There's a lot to appreciate there. There's a really sort of unsettling chord that's going on at the end of each of these chorus stanzas. It's bum, 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 bum. You know, there's like that last chord. It sounds like it's like a parallel minor or something. There's a note in there which gives it a lot of tension there that I wasn't necessarily expecting at the holiday part. But then it becomes less cheesy because of that, so I kind of appreciate it for that. Because the typical thing you do when you talk about the holiday part is you'd resolve to the major so that it's nice and peaceful and relaxing. But that tension is the antithesis of it. That boom, boom, boom. It's the way that it's harmonizing with the vocals there is it's like we're so desperate for that holiday. We're so desperate to get away from where we are currently. Okay, I mean, like, let's talk about this, because this is the conclusion of my review of Everything's Gonna Be Alright by Paul Majid. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. This is a track that I think is about someone inviting someone else. Like, I heard dancing on the streets of New York just to let your hair down, enjoy yourself, be vibrant, be alive, let yourself be taken away somewhere else, you know, I'll go on holiday, get away from your troubles and struggles, you know. That's my understanding of what the song is about. It's sung by Paul Majid, who is a tremendously charismatic and passionate vocalist. There's clear passion within this. You know, I can hear that he really cares about the music that he's singing about. Definitely a performer. You know, I can imagine this would be pretty stunning to listen to live. I can imagine they'd have phenomenal stage presence, and that's just not something you get whenever you listen to people, you know. You don't always get that sense of, hey, this would be just as good outside of my headphones, you know. Which can often be a shame, because then, you know, that's just one half of being a professional musician, is the studio side. There were nice little bits of legato and vibrato in there, as I mentioned. We knew to have those hook melodies, you know, catchy, and they did sit well in the mix. He has a great vocal range, comfortable within his chest voice there. He's got an upper range there which sat really well with everything. We were very attentive to the need to repeat that hook line. We heard it a lot. Everything's going to be alright now is probably going to be stuck in my head for the rest of the day, which is quite honestly the point. Because if you're making a chorus, especially for a song, and it's kind of like pop, like rock genre, like alt rock, I don't know how to describe this. It's like, it's got lots of different elements of music I've listened to. It kind of reminds me of music from like the 2000s and stuff like that, but there's some contemporary elements as well. I enjoyed the structure of the track. I mean, you know, like you had that traditional sort of verse, chorus kind of vibe with an interlude and then like a middle eight there, a refrain and a double chorus. I would have liked there to have been like an additional instrument like added to that second time of the chorus, because sometimes even adding like a different melody behind the vocals just to change it up for that second or that final time, just give it a little bit of extra zazz, a little bit of extra sparkle, you know. Again, I think it was great, you know. Again, it's a catchy hook line, there's nothing wrong with it, but if like we can just, if we're going to do a two in a row, you know, especially if we've got that piano part beforehand where we're doing the refrain back to the original message, we've effectively got it 3 times just with 2 different types. So we may as well have the third and final time with the full band. Well, maybe like a little lead line or something on the guitar or something like that. It's up to Paul Majid, you know. If I think I also mentioned in regards to the instrumental performances, I enjoyed the different drum fills and toms and beats that we had there. They were supportive of the rest of the instruments whilst keeping a groove and also filling in some of the very rare gaps that we had in this arrangement and instrumentation. Like the bass line, I mean, I heard the bass in there. It was nice and round at low end, paying attention to those root notes. The guitar was busy, man. Guitar was busy. The piano parts, when they came in, the only parts I really heard the piano clearly were just in that middle eight part before the last chorus. There was a lot going on throughout the entirety of the song, and with the vocals also being there most of the time, it had a similar kind of energy level the entirety of the 3 and a bit minutes, aside from that drop with the pianos, which I think was a godsend. I'm so glad that we had that drop there, because, you know, while again I can appreciate the fact that we didn't really have a note out of place for those instrumental parts, and you know, like there was great chemistry between the different musicians involved, I just feel like it would have been too samey samey if you didn't have the piano drop down there. At the same time, I think in regards to like the production, the recording, the mixing and the mastering of the track, while I think it was commercially viable and ready for release, I know the cueing of the different instruments, the recordings in them was great, alongside the stereo panning. The mix was nice and wide. Each instrument had a little place in it. You know, the backing vocals were wide, you know, wrapped around the center main singing, and you know, the guitars and the you know, a double track, and you know, like there were a lot of the fundamentals were adhered to. I just think, and like, while it wasn't pumping and it wasn't too loud, don't get me wrong, there was a limited dynamic range that I could hear through this. And the reason I say that is because literally it's like there just wasn't a real sort of perceivable difference in loudness or effect between the verse build and then the chorus, and that just meant that it sounded samey. If that's what Paul Margit was going for, that's great, you know. And I understand that some musicians, they don't like there being a severe difference between the verse and the chorus, and I also understand the listeners can be kind of taken aback if you have too much of a difference between the perceived loudnesses of the verse and chorus sections. And I understand not everyone wants to do a big build into a hook, but it's just that second chorus, that verse just went like, it just went whoosh. There was no oomph or punch really to the second chorus, aside from the fact that you had that hook line that was instantiated previously, so you knew it was a hook, you know. Outside of that, I mean, again, I think it was ready for release. I think Paul Margit has displayed their best talents. Despite the little pointers, I suppose, there haven't been any major criticisms or anything like that. It's just things I've noticed, you know. It might have been good just to have a little bit more of the rest of the instrumental performance without the vocal lines being oriented. Like, even if there was just like a little bit of the piano part, or like even just a bit of a drum fill bringing it back in or something, without there being like an extra bar before that last chorus. It's just the small things. Ultimately though, it's a good track. I've enjoyed my time with it. I wish Paul Margit the best of luck in future. Apologies if I mispronounced the name. I am trying my best. But thank you very much for watching my review of Paul Margit's Everything's Gonna Be Alright. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show Paul some love via his various social medias and his Spotify page. Stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help all than never with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.